Coach, I'll start broad, but how have practices for you evolved over your time as a head coach?
Well, they've changed so much, even just with the, types of players now, the generational,
Mm.
differences. You have to really adapt to who you're coaching as well. But I think when I started out as a younger head coach, my practices were a lot longer. The drills spanned a lot longer. And I have learned that in order to keep your players' attention, because obviously, like, when you think about this generation, their attention spans aren't incredibly long. They're watching 1 minute TikTok videos, and reels are only a certain amount of time, that you have such this gap that you have to like fill and get a lot of information in such a short period of time, that I've learned to compact my drills and try to get as much information in as possible in a shorter period of time. I mean, I think competing is it's the number one thing. I mean, at the end of the day, your players are going to make 1,000 mistakes within the games. Your offense isn't going to be run perfect, your defense, and learning how to like compete and scramble out of situations, and make a play when there really is no play, because the game is on the line, comes within practice. Like, how many times you can get them in those practice settings becomes very important. So our team can like look up and know, hey, this is last possession and we're down 3 or we're down 2. And so now all of a sudden you're playing it like, we have to get a shot here. We have to make this shot in order to win the drill.
If you start to feel something going away that you don't want it to go, what's something practical that you do or some ideas that coaches can implement to
Yeah.
kind of swing things back to where they need to get?
I think there's two things that really help us. One is I really work a lot with our leadership team. Instead of calling them captains, we call them leadership team, like, because they're our leaders. And so I really work with them quite a bit, like outside of basketball practices. And one of the things that I allow them to do is to have what's called regroups. So if they can tell, like, they always say when I start to get quiet, that's a bad sign. Like, if all of a sudden there's a couple possessions and they're not hearing my voice, that usually means things are not going very well. They can read me pretty well. Usually our leadership team has been around me for at least a year, if not multiple years, at this point. And so they're allowed to call a regroup. And then a regroup is only the team comes together. No coaches involved in that. So it's training them to, if you're in a game and the situation isn't going well, we don't have a billion timeouts that we can call as coaches, right? Our team has to learn how to respond, listen quickly, respond, and then like react, like get out of it and do something to change it. And so they regroup, they all come together, they put their arms around each other. Our coaches come together in a separate huddle, and we're just sitting there like acting mad, but we're not really. It's usually you know and then when we come back to practice, we see where the change is at, like how much better. And majority of the time, I can tell you, when our players come out of a regroup, the focus is different. Usually we go on a scoring run or get a couple stops.
Mm.
And that's a good way to like give a little bit of like autonomy to your leadership team, to allow them to have that moment to say, hey, we got to fix this. This isn't good enough. So it's not always coming from you. The second thing that we do is we always put an emphasis on the last like 4 minutes of a drill. Or, if it's a shorter drill, it could be the last 2 minutes of the drill. Double points. It could be like, like you're ramping up the points. Because I think like the hardest thing to do is learn how to win at the end of a game, right? It's like end of the game, you played the game and you maybe have had a really bad game, but now it's in the last 2 minutes and you're tied. How are you going to find a way to like win it? And so we try to make sure our team understands that there's a higher level of emphasis in those last 2 minutes and those last 4 minutes than there is at any other point in time. You have to be sharper. Your attention to detail has to be higher, and you got to like really understand like game flow. Is this a good shot? Is this a bad shot? This can't just be like, we're playing the drill out because there's 10 minutes on the clock and there's 2 minutes left of the 10-minute drill. So I'm just going to, jack this 3 from the corner. Like, that's not a good shot if there was 2 minutes left in the game. So don't take it just because there's 2 minutes left in a drill.
Mhm.
So we try to do double points with that.
I'm guessing you guys use film in that way as well to kind of reinforce that. But what are kind of some of the conversations that you have in regards to teaching the decision making through film and tying that to what happens on the practice court?
Yeah, well, even going before that, I think one of the things that has changed a lot over the years has been just the fact that so many players now are doing individual workouts with trainers.
Mm.
Right? It's like we get a lot of these really great high school players that come in that are super talented, but they're doing it one-on-one. They don't have somebody that they're passing to. Passing has become a lost art in the game. I mean, it
Mm.
is It is unbelievable to me how many players come into the college setting and cannot pass or are very like weak at making reads and decision making and passing. It's because they're literally paying this trainer and they're working on their individual skill set to be able to score. We're losing a little bit of that at the college level. And so we spend a lot of time on this. Yes, film is a huge part of it. Usually for us, we do film before practices. So our athletes come in, they'll watch a set of film. We'll have it broken down based off of like what our 3 emphasis points are for practice that day. Maybe it was, we had too many turnovers yesterday. So now we're watching those, and how are those turnovers coming? We're going to show them clips, a couple clips of where they maybe didn't do it right, but then we're going to try to find 3 or 4 clips where they did it, where they did do it right, because we want them to not, we don't want to train them to always seeing the wrong. Like sometimes it's better when you can show them clips, and even if it has to be like a clip of a different team, hey, here's a player doing it correctly, so they can see like this is the read that I want to get to, this is the right decision. And then we have these 3 points of emphasis that we always try to lay into in practice, and now we're going to go and make sure our practice plan is coordinated with those 3 things. We do what's called the hot hand shooting drills, like hot hand drills. So like if we're playing live play, we'll designate like as they're playing, let's say our point guard, Cami Pepler, hits a 3. She becomes the hot hand for that team. Let's make it, take it. They get the ball back. If Cami hits another 3 or the next possession, or say she gets another basket the next possession, her points are worth 2. So
Mm,
like if she hits another 3, then that's a 6-pointer, 3. It makes the defense have to focus in on locking in on who's hot, but it also makes the offense look for the person who's been scoring. I think too many times it's kind of like, okay, well, she scored, now it's my turn
mm,
situation. And we want them
mm,
like competing within drills to say, okay, Cammie's got the hot hand. It doesn't mean she has to score. Like if she passes it to the post and, Jory, our freshman, goes one-on-one and scores a bucket, then it's just worth 2 points. But now Jory has the hot hand the next possession.
mhm,
So if Jory scores, then her points are worth 2. Now, if she can score 3 times in a row, then it's worth 3. 4 times in a row is worth 4. So you kind of, then our team starts running plays for them. Like, hey, let's get Cammy off of a staggered screen. Let's run, horn stagger, and then they start calling our offenses to try to get our players plays. We have what's called Benergy drills. So bench energy is a huge thing for us. We call it Benergy. So if it's a Benergy drill, the team that has the most energy, which is usually voted on by a coach or by somebody who's working at the table. Sometimes I'll be like, our trainer gets to pick which team had the most energy.
mm.
They get like a bonus 2 points. Or sometimes I'll say Benergy drill +5. And that means at the end of the drill, you get 5 points if your team had the most energy during that drill. That could be high five, like touches. We call them touches, or chest. We do our team does a lot of chest bumping. It's kind of crazy when you come to our practices.
Something that really transformed my players' learning, because I think sometimes we stop it after it's over, we correct, and then we just start it over again like it's going to recreate itself. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it
Mhm.
doesn't. And by stopping, we go rewind. I'll tell the guys to rewind, and they, take 2 steps back or whatever. By the way, when I first started doing that, they looked at me like, what are you wanting me to do here? But then also the playing off of 2 feet, something I found that maybe you can speak to, but just the ability to kind of, I play off 2, that almost slows me down to then allow me to see better, which then allows me to decide better. Teaching the decision and helping them tie that to your eyes and what you see.